Time for another episode of Over the Line. Got some updates on as far as foreign policy for the current administration. And it's looking like North Korea's taken issue with joint military exercises on the peninsula that the United States has been doing with South Korea for a long time. And North Korea having an issue with that in advance of this summit with President Trump that's been scheduled. And some speculation that possibly this summit may end up getting canceled or something else might happen that's bad. But, really, Gerald, there's other issues going on here. I mean, it's clear what President Trump wants to do. He wants to strike a good deal for the United States, but he's got hardliners in his administration like John Bolton and Mike Pompeo that really are just known as classic war hawks and were for the Iraq war. And with both those guys in his ear, you just got to wonder if that's fucking things up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's two sides of the fence here. I think Kim Jong Un wants to look strong, so he wants to, beat his chest on his little media and say, oh, I'm not going to do this meeting, blah, 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 they're shooting guns. I mean, I can see from maybe his point of view how it looks that even after he's met the South Korean leader, agreed to his talks, now you're still doing these tests, but you expect me not to shoot off nukes. I can kind of see, but at the same time, what are you trying to accomplish? And that's the weirdest thing. It's like, what is in it for Kim Jong Un? His country, let's be honest here, one of the poorest in the world. They don't have a lot of resources. A relationship with the U.S., a relationship with South Korea would greatly help them. Now, of course, he's come out and saying they're done with their nuclear plans and they're going to be buddy-buddy. There's talks of a unified Korea. We've heard this. And I'm not saying there's no truth to it, because, there definitely probably is at some point, but this just shows, again, how unstable Kim Jong Un is.
Or does it show that there's a degree of logic he's exercising? Because you got to think about it this way.
Well, talk to me. I want to know the logic.
Well, if I'm Kim Jong Un, first of all, I'm probably not trusting the United States in the fact that time and time again we have toppled dictators, and we've telling them, oh, you need to get rid of your weapons, and then we just swoop in there and take them out.
That's a great point.
He wants the nukes. Probably for deterrence, in all honesty. He wants that to hold that over our heads so that way he can say, hey, if you try to get rid of me, I'm just going to launch a nuke on your country. Yeah. At the same time, we don't want him to have the nukes because we know he's kind of an unstable guy, all right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where this all comes down to. But I think also from Kim Jong Un's perspective, we just saw the peace deal go down between the Korean leaders.
Ending the Korean War.
And so now he must have thought, oh, well, I guess these military exercises on the peninsula are going to stop, and they
Wouldn't
keep going
you think
on.
so, though? He does have that. That is a good point. You would think that these military exercises, which are kind of a show of aggression from the Korean War era that just ended, you would think they wouldn't happen anymore. I don't know. Maybe he's onto something, but I don't think pulling out of any deals right now is probably best for him in the long run. Yes, right now, honestly, it's not like North Korea brings a lot to the table to begin with outside of those nukes. And if you're starting to say nukes, that is a lot in a sense. But outside of that, what are you bringing to the table to stop them from doing these drills?
Well, and we know what the side is of Trump and Pompeo and Bolton. They all want total denuclearization. And I think that's a fine goal to strive for, but it's a question of how do you get that? How do you get them to agree to that and actually have it so they'll, you can enforce that.
Yeah.
So those are the challenges going into this. But again, I think for Kim Jong Un, if I'm sitting there in his position, I have to decide what assurance am I getting that if I give up my nukes, they're not just going to topple me and put some democratic government into North Korea or something. Like, that's what he's got to be worried about.
Yeah, like I said, I think maybe next month, if this summit happens, I think we're going to have to do a follow-up episode, because I think there's a lot, when you start thinking about Korea, you also start thinking about the people. And I'm going a little bit off subject here. But it's like, what does this mean for the people, this summit? Like, what can come out of this? And I think that's just something else I do want to talk to you about in length. So we'll do that in a future episode. But at least for now, I definitely can understand why he's a little paranoid. But again, this is, and I'll give Trump credit, he's setting up a meeting with the guy. No president has done that. Obama, Bush, no one's actually gone to North Korea to sit down with the North Korean president.
Well, that's true. And again,
I give him credit for that.
Yeah, I give credit for it, but again, now you got to get that across the finish line and make sure something doesn't get fucked up before that day comes.
That's true.
There's still a lot of time between now and whenever in June they're trying to do that.
Yeah.
So
I think it's like around my birthday too, so that's funny.
we'll see what happens with it. But again, I mean, for North Korea, I think they kind of warmed up to Mike Pompeo a bit when he went over there, and they kind of like brought back the hostages and whatnot. But North Korea is still very skeptical of John Bolton. They don't like him going back to the Bush days, because Bush was in when Bush was the president. John Bolton was involved with North Korea, and they didn't like him then. They don't like him now. So again, with who the president's putting him around him in his administration as advisors, that can make an impact.
Yeah, you make a great point, and I mean, it's really just going to be. I think this is honestly. I've always said this about Kim Jong Un. Whenever we talk about him, I do think he is more or less an attention seeker. But I mean, the world's looking at you right now, buddy. I don't understand this. The whole world has their eyes on North Korea right now. When you're talking about the United States president going on over there, it just doesn't make sense, this whole mess. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep you updated on what happens. Hopefully everything gets across the finish line, the summit happens, and something gets taken away from it. But we'll give you updates. And if, it indeed gets canceled, we're going to have more to talk about. But for now, that's going to be it. Thanks for tuning in to Over the Line.
Stay tuned.